Alright, so apologies in advance that the lighting is about to get weird. As we all know, I live in a very sunny apartment, which is nice until you try to film or have a reef tank, because then the sun messes with everything, and right now it's going down, and that's just what we're doing. To be fair, I wasn't really planning on filming today. Sadly, my clownfish, Yzma and Kronk, passed away about 2 days ago, and I want to talk about it because what happened to me is something that is very, very preventable, and I made a rookie move, couple rookie moves, and you know, I believe in transparency. I want to tell you guys what happened, so hopefully you can avoid making this mistake in the future and also avoid this company. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, we're good. So basically what happened is I broke my #1 rule in reefing that I've talked about on here before, which is don't mess with your tank unnecessarily. Okay, so I had a small patch of cyanobacteria in my tank. If you don't know what cyanobacteria is, it's this really annoying, like red squiggly algae stuff. Kind of sucks up nutrients, looks stupid, what have you. And a friend offered me this. Makeup guru. This is a bottle of red slime remover designed to take care of cyanobacteria. She had used it in her tank and had good results, so she was kind enough to give it to me so I could give it a shot in mine. Now, this is where it gets a little bit messy. Normally, whenever I dose anything in my tank, which again is very, very rarely, I make sure it's a company that I know and trust. So I made the rookie decision of putting this in my tank without having done research into the brand, and unfortunately it cost both my clownfish their lives. And I was very lucky that it didn't kill the rest of my tank. If it had been like the next day, everything would be dead. Monday at around 10:30 at night, I dosed less than half of this product, like less than half the recommended dose for my size tank, into my tank. I pre-mixed it as instructed, used their measurements, their scoop, put it in the tank, monitored my tank for about 2 hours until around midnight, and everything seemed fine. And I was hopeful that when I woke up in the morning, this little patch of cyano that I had would be gone. Boom, end of story. Woke up Tuesday morning, probably around 7 or 8, and the clowns were fine. The cyano was still there, but I didn't really think a whole lot of it. I was like, okay, well, it didn't work, whatever, no big deal. I fed my clownfish, they were eating, they were super active, all of my corals were fully open. There was nothing in there to suggest that something was about to go horribly wrong. That night, I got home at 8 p.m., opened up my bedroom door, and my tank was super cloudy. And the clownfish, normally when I come home, they come swimming right up to the glass because they think I'm gonna feed them, and they didn't. So as soon as I opened the door, I knew that something horrible had happened. I hadn't found them yet, but I knew as soon as I opened it, so that sucked. I really love my clownfish. If you follow literally any of my other socials, you know how much I love my fish and love my tank. So to say I was panicking was an understatement. I was running around both sides of my tank looking for my clownfish, literally screaming, "You were fine!" Which in retrospect is like, I'm laughing because it's awkward to talk about, but it sucked. It wasn't fun at all. Anyway, so sure enough, both of them had passed away. They were close to each other. Neither of them had any symptoms of injuries or illness that for some reason I didn't catch. Didn't have any ammonia streaks. They were perfect. They weren't bloated. Like, they literally looked like they were sleeping, but they weren't sleeping. And that was when I panicked and started testing my water. The first time I tested my water, I had 0.01 ammonia and, oh gosh, I can't remember the number, but the like second level out of 5 on my nitrate chart. I was at the second color level there, so slightly elevated nitrates, slightly elevated ammonia. That said, the clowns had very obviously been dead for a couple of hours, so I kind of attributed that little spike to them being in there, and I went ahead, removed their bodies, did a 50% water change, and continued to watch it. About an hour later, the water had clouded up again, and this time when I tested my water, that was when I realized what had happened. This time when I tested my water, the ammonia was at 0.03 and the nitrates were literally off the charts. They were so high that they weren't even readable as a color on the chart. After testing all of my other parameters, testing my salinity, testing my water temperature, the only thing that changed in my regular reef maintenance routine was dosing this product by Royal Nature. I stayed up all night doing water changes. Every time it started to spike, I would do another water change and managed to save all of my corals and all of my inverts. And the next morning, I went online and I hit up a couple different forums, some of them quite well known in the reefing community. I wanted to make sure that whatever had happened to my tank wasn't going to happen to somebody else. So I posted the whole story, explained what happened. I got so many responses and found so many threads of people with very, very similar stories about involving using this exact product. This is the Royal Nature Royal Red Slime Remover. It is labeled reef safe, and clearly it's not. And based on all of that information, the best that we can put together is that that bloom caused a massive die-off, basically killed not only the bad bacteria in my tank, but also killed off the good bacteria, which caused the spike that I saw on my tests and caused the oxygen to deplete rapidly, which is unfortunately what killed Yzma and Kronk. If I hadn't caught it when I did, it would have killed the rest of my tank, and it continued to spike for the better part of 12 hours. So that sucks. I went onto the company's website to try and track down this product, track down some information, and get a hold of them, and I'll post the screenshots, but when I went to their website, the closest link I could find to this product, which was under their supplement section, actually sent me to a third-party website that tried to sell me erectile dysfunction medication from Israel. I'm obviously incredibly sad to have lost Yzma and Kronk. That sucked, especially with the year that I've had, and especially with having lost Nala at the beginning of the summer, to be ending the summer having lost my clownfish blows, for lack of a better term. That said, I am so grateful to all of you over on Twitter who tried and offered to send me replacement clownfish. That truly warmed my heart that so many of you understood how much I love my fish, and obviously one fish doesn't replace another, but the fact that so many of you offered to do that was very kind. So thank you so much. Tank is doing much better now. It is fully recovered. It has not spiked. Today is Friday, so everything has evened back out. For as sad as I am to have lost Yzma and Kronk, I'm really glad that this wasn't worse. This was my first tank crash. Unfortunately, it was right before their birthday. I was gonna get them some kind of magical fishy surprise, but now I am instead getting a very hard lesson in staying humble when it comes to reefing and not trusting something without knowing where it came from and without knowing who the company involved are. This is obviously no shade on the girl who was kind enough to give me this product. She had used it herself and it worked out just fine. I think that because my tank was a nano, there's a lot less margin for error, and that's part of the reason that people caution against nano tanks. So, you know, that was a risk that I took setting up this tank, and I'm paid for it with this little lesson that we have now learned. On that note, please be careful what you put in your tanks. Please always do your research. Can't say this enough. I can't believe that I was dumb enough to put something in my tank without doing the research first. If I had done the research, I would have known better. But you trust things when they come from companies that design them specifically to address those issues. But you shouldn't. I don't really know how to end this. I'm sorry this wasn't a happier video. I don't want to say if you liked this video to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I just want you to go and look after your fish and take care of them. And be careful what you put in your tanks. There's tons of things on the market that say they'll solve the small little quirky problems that our tanks have, but let me tell you, for the 1-inch little patch of cyanobacteria I have, this didn't even kill, by the way. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it to lose my fish. So just be aware if you're gonna put something in your tank that's the risk you're running, and ask yourself if it's really worth it.